Hello everybody, that gardening guy here again, and today I'm going to show you how to take your pepper seedlings and transplant them. Pretty straightforward, not near as fussy as the tomatoes. As you can see here, our little Egg Carton Greenhouse did the trick. Don't worry, these ones on the right were planted a little bit later, so if you don't see anything, like I said with peppers, they're a little bit harder to get started, unfortunately, but they're a little bit slower to start as well. So if you don't see immediate results like you did with the tomatoes, don't worry, give it a little time. Don't switch out the seeds or try a new tray or anything like that. It's probably altogether unnecessary. But if you feel that, you want to have a few extra in case a few die, never going to discourage that. Always plant more than you need, because sometimes the unthinkable can happen. Just for some reason, a little plant doesn't want to take root after you transplant it, or seeds just don't start up. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to transplant these little guys. Alright, the method for transplanting is pretty straightforward, a lot less finicky than the tomatoes. All you want to do is just take this dirt here. If you want to see how to prepare your soil ahead of time, you can take a look at the tomato seedling planting tutorial. And basically, as a rule of thumb, you want a really good loose mixture, probably some potting soil from your local store, mixed with maybe a little, I have some very, very aged horse manure in here just as a supplement. At this point, you don't want to put anything in that's going to really fry the roots. If you overdo it with fertilizer like Miracle-Gro, it's great in small quantities, but if you overdo it, it'll just fry them as soon as they get in there. And as far as hydrating the soil, you want it to be moist so that the roots can spread, really not dry out, but at the same time, you don't want to flood them. And as a rule of thumb, you just want to kind of be able to squeeze out just a little bit. There you go. You can probably see that there. I'm going to get my hands all messy here, but that's okay. But you can just see that just the water just kind of drips out of the soil when you give it a good squeeze. So what you want to do here is fill this right up to the top. And one thing you want to do when you got it kind of up to the top the first time, just give it a couple little tinks on a hard surface. And what this does is allows the soil to settle, because when you're watering, it's going to do that anyway. And then if it's already settled down here and you've already got your plant in here, you've lost out on about an inch of space that your roots would normally have, buying you a little bit more time in case it's kind of a frosty year like it is this year. At least there's a whole lot of late frost this spring. Maybe I'm not remembering far back enough to other years. But yeah, it buys you a bit more time. So just put a little bit more on the top there. Kind of pat that down real nice. And then what you want to do is you want to take a spoon. I had that around here. That's the second time I lost it. Here we are. And you just want to scoop out a little hole, and that is going to be the little pocket where you're going to place the little pepper and all the dirt that was in the little egg carton spot. I've never figured out what to call it, from your egg carton greenhouse. So now you've got that little hole placed there. Just take your egg carton greenhouse here. You can see the peppers did all right. And just like before with taking out the tomato seedling, very, very gently just pry out your pepper. If you get as much soil as you can with it, if it doesn't happen, that's okay. You see, this one just separated, but look at that root system. That is gorgeous. That's exactly what we want. And what you want to do is just place it right in that little center there. If the root system came out with it and you want to give it a little bit more depth, you can just stick your finger down there a little bit. Let it sit in there. Hold it gently while you just pack in the soil around it. What you want it to do is you want it to be real sturdy. You want to bury the roots, but you don't want to bury too much of the stem, because unlike the tomatoes, there are no little hairs on this here that are going to branch out, and you've probably just lost a little bit of height to it. Not the end of the world, but if you want maximum yield and best healthy little plants, just make sure it's peeking right out. And just as simple as that, you have got your pepper seedling transplanted. Last thing you want to do, of course, if you're like me, you're going to forget what you put where. So let me get my hands cleaned off here. You want to get yourself a little label, and if it gets a little dirty, that's okay. But what this one was a yellow pepper. No difference as far as how to plant between yellow and red. So you just want to stick it right on here. I know it's been a little while since the last video, so if your peppers are probably a lot bigger than this by now. This is a later tray that I started. So they're probably a bit bigger than this right now, but don't worry, as long as they're healthy and green, as long as they were in that greenhouse and they didn't start to wilt, that means they were just fine. You're probably just going to find a lot more of a root system, bury it deep, and you should be fine. So now I'm going to bring this over to the greenhouse, and I think that just about wraps up everything here. And until I see you guys next, good luck and happy gardening.